No, this title isn't some joke. This is genuinely the worst game I've ever made. It's text-based, it has awful ASCII art, and worst of all, the code might as well belong on Urban Dictionary when you look up garbage. You might be wondering why I made this, and the simple answer is because I had to. For school. The instructions for this project required it to be text-based and have ASCII art because if it was up to me, I wouldn't go anywhere near creating ASCII art since, well, I don't know how to. And if I know me, which I do, whenever I try making art I'm unfamiliar with, it turns out interesting, to say the least. However, there is one silver lining that might save this game from complete degeneracy, and that has to be its story, something I'm actually kind of proud of. Too bad that these days, unless there's Subway Surfers playing on the side, no one would actually play a text-based game. Although I have to blame part of the game's design on my own procrastination since I focused a bit too much on the story as opposed to other elements. But by no means was this game challenging to create. I mean, from a technical standpoint, it's basically something a monkey could code. The game's name is the Introductory Clause, and it starts out like this.
Welcome to the game. By playing this game, you agree.
Yeah, I know. Boring. Where's the soap cutting videos or the Minecraft parkour? Well, the point about this intro is that it basically tells you that you are signing a very important document. What that might be? Who knows? Actually, I know, but I'm not telling you till later. It continues to explain that after seeing weird visions of a cluttered room, you find yourself in a clear open field in an otherwise dense forest, with nothing but rags on your back. If you didn't understand from my earlier description, the game is text-based, meaning that every input you use to play the game, you have to type out, something only true gamers can do. The actual game itself was made in Python and is about 800 lines long, which might seem long, but the truth is that about half of those lines are dedicated to this game's beautiful ASCII art. And by beautiful, I mean absolute abominations. I made them using this really handy website that converted my critic-worthy MS Paint drawings because God knows that I don't have the actual talent required to make ASCII art. I spent quite a while designing the story, going through quite a few iterations all through Miro.com, a whiteboarding app that I used to create a flow map of all the different choices and options the player could have. That's right, everyone. This game is officially on par with Skyrim because your choices affect your ending. Truly revolutionary. 10 out of 10.
It has a little something for everyone.
After spawning in the clearing, you are presented with the option of going north, east, south, or west. And to save us some time, the only actual way to progress is to head north, but if you go in the other directions, you can actually learn a little bit about where you are. If you head south, you get pointless flavor text. If you head east, you can jump into a pond and get more pointless flavor text. And finally, if you head west, you can get pointless flavor text. I mean, seriously, who made this All right, I did. I promise the story gets better. After heading north, you can continue through the forest until you find a cabin and inside an old man. At least, I hope you can tell it's an old man. The old man says some pretty cryptic stuff, but at least gives you a dagger. Something kind of interesting about the way I chose to handle the narration is I made a clear distinction between you, the player, and you, the narrator. I wonder if that's ever gonna be important. Spoiler alert, it is. The narrator has quite a lot of personality and charm, something similar to what you'd find in Undertale. Wait, would that mean the old man is Sans from Undertale? No way. After leaving that strange old man's cabin, you continue down through the woods until you suddenly get ambushed by that old man? How could he? I wonder why he did that. Oh, that's why. He wants to abolish the government. How incredibly based. When it came to how I would handle the fighting in this game, I used a pretty basic system, to say the least. It's just a standard turn-based attack system, but you can only attack or dodge. Surprisingly, still having more innovation than most modern Pokemon games. Attacking is calculated by taking a number from 1 to your highest attack damage, and dodging is calculated. Just some pretty standard math and randomness, and you too can have the most plain attack system ever. That old man also gives you some pretty cool armor called champion armor, which is probably going to be useful. Once you continue down the path, you find a sword in the ground. I wonder what that's referencing. You can pull it out or continue down the path, but let's just assume everyone else watching is just as curious as I am and decide to try to pull out the sword.
You try pulling the sword out, but to no avail. Do you try again?
I mean, it can't hurt to try again, right?
This time, you really use all of your strength to try to pull out the sword, and you are about to feel something pop when you still fall short. Do you try again?
Nah, it's not really worth it in my opinion. I mean, at this point, if it was destined for you, it should have fallen out by now.
After walking away, you suddenly hear a clink. The sword has fallen out of its socket.
So as it would turn out, the secret to getting the sword is to try pulling out twice and then to walk away. Because if you try 3 times, you end up pulling your back, a permanent debuff that makes you slower in battle. Literally the Dark Souls of text-based games. Continuing, you arrive at Midfield, a literal median to the surrounding regions. I think that this ASCII art is actually not too bad, but it kind of looks like a rotten ribeye steak. To the north is a seemingly impassable ravine. To the east, a huge lake, and to the west, a desert of dunes. Now again, to save some time, let's speedrun these regions real quick. If you head east, you see a big ass octopus who realizes you too have champion armor and joins your fight against the government. Similarly, if you head west, you meet a queen of a subterranean oasis who also realizes you share similarity in being a champion and joins your fight against the government. Finally, just like last time, the actual way to progress is to ironically head north. I really like designing this section because it gave me ample opportunity to explore the lore of this world. That's right, I have lore. Just like FNAF, guys. Just like FNAF. Originally, the old man from earlier, unofficially named Garth, was supposed to be a one-off as a champion of the woods, but I decided to extend that idea to everyone in the surrounding regions. Totally not ripping off the idea of Breath of the Wild's champions. On a side note, I'm gonna be brutally honest for a second. I hate making text-based games. I mean, props to everyone who actually has the talent and skill to make one, but I seriously suck at it. All the convenience and fun of a game engine just doesn't exist because they're, you know, kind of limited to just text. At first, you know, it seems, oh, so quirky and fun, there's only text, but then you realize that's all there is to it. At least that's how it seemed to me. Once you head north, you Mario backwards long jump into the ravine and get caught in a bubble, saving you from your immediate demise. A quick look around reveals that you are surrounded by dwarves. What a shock. Dwarves underground? Truly Nobel Prize worthy. What's next? Dragons in the sky? Yes. Actually, after looking for some help, one kind dwarf stranger gives you directions to the government through a desolate place called Rockine Plains after repairing your armor for you. Upon making your way up what feels like an infinite flight of stairs, the game tests you for a final bit and makes you fall over a few times before finally making it to the government capital. But this brief moment of respite gets quickly interrupted by a freaking dragon. We did it, Reddit. A dragon in a fantasy game. No freaking way. This dragon is actually the final champion of this country, the champion of Rockine Plains. After arriving, the champions you recruited from earlier also show up. Do you notice how this ASCII art actually looks good? Well, it's because I didn't make it and just stole it online from this person, so credit to them for my project. Anyways, this is a big turning point in the game because of something the dragon does. It addresses the player, not just by using you like everyone else, but by the name you first input at the beginning. This is sort of an idea I kind of just stole from Earthbound, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm shamelessly proud of it. After beating the dragon, you finally face the big reveal. The game took place inside of another game. After beating the dragon, the player takes off their headset, and on a table next to them reads a manual with the title Introductory Clause, explaining that the player forgets their memory when playing the title. Absolutely beautiful. Peak fiction, everyone. So that's the good ending, but there actually is an alternative route you can take. It involves the player stripping the other champions of their champion status by taking their armor and making them disappear forever. I won't get into the nitty-gritty of how to do it, so if you decide to play the game, you can figure that out yourself. After acquiring the 3 sets, you head to the dwarf in the ravine who now forges you a combination of the 3 sets, named the Ultimate Champion Armor Set. Now it's time to go beast mode. Finally, when you see the dragon again, this time it offers you to join it. If you join the dragon, an alternate ending occurs where you, the in-game player, and you, the named player, become separate entities, with the named player and the dragon ruling over the fictional world as gods since they realize it's completely fake. You, the in-game player, become trapped watching all this happen. How unlucky. I might make more games like this in the future, but if I do, I probably won't limit myself to just text. I'm gonna end up posting the game on GitHub as an exe and Python file, so if you want to play, you can just head there, link below. Subscribe for more shitty games. It's been Froguish.